we're really excited to have a little bit of a conversation about amenities today and how you can do yourself a favor, do your guests a favor, and help everybody out by offering a suite of lovely amenities. And we'll get into some of the specifics with that. For now, I'm Charity with Host to Host, and I just wanted to do a quick reminder about Zoom. So I'm always going to be available on chat for you. Carlos will also be monitoring that. Carlos is our moderator today. And if you have anything to ask, go ahead and raise your hand so that he can call on you. We're keeping it casual, keeping it fun, keeping it friendly, and just having a lovely conversation this evening. So I can't wait to see how it unfolds, and I hope you'll stick with us. And if you have to turn away, this is going to be recorded, so it can be available to you on YouTube. I will send out that link tomorrow. So before I blabber on too much, I want to go ahead and introduce the Host co-founder, Debbie, and she might have a few words to say about our topic tonight. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Charity. It's sure nice to see you all. It's always great to see these friendly faces. And I really don't have a whole lot to say. I just want to introduce Carlos, who is our resident super photographer. Carlos has been with Host to Host since the very beginning of Host to Host. In fact, since we were pre-Host to Host. And he came to me, he asked to stay in our little unit here in Portland, and reached out to me personally. He says, "You want me to take some pictures? I could sure do a lot better than the Airbnb photographer." And I jumped on it, and then lo and behold, he moved here shortly after that. So that's been a great and wonderful thing for Host to Host. We're really happy to have you. And
I've always appreciated your support.
Well, and I'll just join the conversation as it goes on, as we talk about different amenities. So go for it, Carlos.
Thanks so much, Debbie. Hey, thank you all for joining us. So today, like I said, we're discussing amenities. And like Debbie said, as a photographer, I'm going through people's homes and rooms and places and discovering opportunities for me to photograph cool things that might be offered to guests or things that might make your hosting experience more efficient. So today we have 6 expert speakers that are either super hosts, they're vendors, they're managers, to kind of give us some insights on their favorite amenities that they're seeing being used in their spaces, in their clients' homes. So I wanted to kind of introduce some of those folks today. So if we don't mind, we'll just kind of keep this fairly casual. Christy, if you don't mind, if I kind of call on you real quick to share some insights on some amenities that maybe have made your host experience more efficient or more valuable, or maybe you must have pointed out, like, this is amazing, I'm so glad you have this.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm coming from I don't know if you've heard of it, radius perspective. So, don't limit yourself just to Airbnb, VRBO, directions. There's, a new platform in town here, local Portland startup. And so, it's a day use workspace rentals. So you're basically turning your residential space into an office. And so, with that, just keep in mind what amenities work for workers. And I think either way today, with the amount of remote workers, you have to do it, whether it's for Airbnb or VRBO guests. I think they all want some sort of remote work amenities. And so really just easy, good Wi-Fi, which you should have anyway. And then a whiteboard turns any space into a workspace. You don't have a whiteboard, you got big windows, they could write on the windows and just wipe it off. It's just getting creative. Supply.
I would not have expected the whiteboard window.
Yeah, so
that's very clever.
Basic as a whiteboard marker, throw in your drawer for your guests if they need it. I just actually had an Airbnb guest that booked my house, and she was coming into town. She's got employees in town. They don't have an office locally. And so she stayed here, but she also did her work meetings here. So I think it's fair to say that, there's a ton of office use happening in people's listings these days.
What are some of the like the weird or quirky ones that like an office space can have? I think I photographed a handful of radius spaces. The window whiteboard is not something I remember seeing, but that's very clever. What
Yeah,
else have you seen in the spaces?
projectors. So a couple of people have
Oh,
projectors.
that's huge. Okay.
Some have even painted like a wall with whiteboard stuff or chalkboard.
Hmm.
Monitors on desks are helpful for people.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think just it's going kind of just one step further for your overnight guests for radius, you
Yeah.
know, it's just having pretty much the same amount of coffee. Everyone wants coffee, of course. So make sure you've got
Sure.
coffee. Yeah. Projectors, outdoor space is great. A lot of our guests like little, you know, desks tucked away so they can shoot off for that private Zoom call, and then come back and
Okay.
collaborate with their colleagues that are around the table.
That's right. So like a team space and a private office space can sometimes be helpful in that context.
Exactly.
Okay. And I'm assuming maybe a couple of extra chairs for that team meeting space, right?
Yeah, exactly. The ability to pull some chairs in if possible.
Yeah.
Outdoor space when the weather's nice, just seating really. Yeah, butts on seats.
Love it. Love it. So that's kind of the perspective from the radius side. Have you from the hosting side as hosting guests? Can you think of anything that guests have really loved in your spaces? I know we live down the street from one of your from one of your homes that you host.
Yep.
What can you think of that's kind of in that context of a host?
You know, the biggest thing from my perspective is the well-stocked kitchen. I think I get the most comments on throwing
Okay.
everything you can possibly can into your kitchen. So I think a lot of people book so they can cook in their Airbnb versus, you know, in a
Folks, so they
hotel
can cook. I like that.
room. So I think that's important.
Accidental rhyme in there.
Games are a big
Cook to
one, you
cook.
know.
So by well-stocked kitchen, you don't mean with food, you mean with
Yes.
utensils and pots and pans and cookie sheets and.
Yeah, but it's nice to have spices also. I think, you know,
Okay.
expensive to buy a jar just for one thing and then they
Yeah.
can't fly with them and they don't want to fly with them. So yeah, and then
Yeah.
I have a ton of books and games that are super popular. My Portland place is very family friendly. So I have the toys and the play structure and whatnot. And so I kind of well equip my place with, you know, a hiking carrier and a stroller, a little umbrella stroller thing. And of course the pack and play. And I think it's just going that little extra mile with your amenities that sets you apart.
Yeah, and thank you, Don, for chiming in because I was going to ask a similar question of like, to what extent are we filling kitchens? Because when I'm photographing homes, that's something that I often ask if hosts are ready for it and they feel like their kitchen is ready for it. I ask, you know, can we open your cupboards? Can we open the drawers so that guests can get a preview of what's there? Like, so they have an idea. Do we have a full selection of spices and oils, or do we have salt and pepper? Do we have one saucepan and a skillet, or do we have a full suite of pots and pans? So that's something I'm looking for as a photographer, so that hosts can know. You know, don't diminish the value of your listing. Let's showcase everything that you can show. You know, pull out the drawers, pull out the cabinets, pull out the things, and let's photograph it if we can, if it's presentable. So I appreciate you sharing that. I saw a couple of head nods with Lorinda. Lorinda, do you mind if we ask you, from especially with your experience with InStyle, what are kind of some of the amenities that you're seeing that are either popular among hosts or that you're getting feedback from guests that are like, hey, InStyle, these are some really key things that we love seeing in our spaces?
Well, some of the more popular amenities that I don't deem as necessarily essential, but more like enhancements, like pool towels are very popular. Robes and
Okay.
slippers are extremely popular. I mean, that's like something, and I'm not sure if that's more the B&Bs and less of the hosts, but I mean, it certainly would set you apart.
Absolutely.
Like throw blankets, ice buckets, the coffee makers, things like that. Something I've also been talking to people about is weighted blankets for
That's a new one.
autistic, yeah, for your autistic children or um, people who need to feel that security.
Yeah, you could almost call that like a sleep enhancement kind of thing, because that I know my wife loves them, and she's not, and she just loves the comfort and feeling of that weight on her. So that's
Yes.
something new. I've not heard of that, so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that's certainly unique.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's
and
something that Install offers, or that's just something you've seen
we
in
do.
listings?
We do. We
Okay.
have a couple. We have one that's a throw blanket and one that's actually a blanket that you can put on your bed in two different styles. One
Okay.
has like a almost like a duvet cover on it that's removable so that you're not, I mean, washing those weighted blankets is,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that can be quite a task. So I'm sure the removable covers make it super easy.
yeah. Hmm.
Right before we got on, we had mentioned two unique things that I didn't expect. Number one was a sound machine, for kind of in that category of like sleep enhancements for guests to kind of optimize their experience in staying with hosts. But then there was also an efficiency one that you mentioned that I had not considered, that kind of helps your turnover team, your cleaning team, and that was not microfiber, but I've never heard of it. Micro cotton.
Micro cotton towels. Ours is the Micro Cotton Hotel towel. It's a
Okay.
lightweight towel that dries quickly, and yeah. So
And
it's
how does that serve both guests and and a host team, like a cleaning team?
well, it's very plush and nice feeling for the guests, but it's also lightweight and dries quickly. So for your cleaners, it makes it easier for them. And especially if you're
Awesome. That
if
makes
you are
sense.
having it taken out and commercially washed and paying by the pound, they're lightweight.
Okay, that makes sense. Anthony, I see your hand up. Let's have you chime in real quick.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say with the towels in particular, if you do same day turns, so if your guest checks out at 10 or 11, and then you have someone coming in at 4 o'clock, and you want to have the laundry done in that time frame, having something that has quick dry capabilities can be super helpful, so that it's not the full 6-hour window that's being used up to just kind of be there and wash stuff. I mean, it might not take as long
Yeah.
to actually clean the home, but the laundry and that fog right there is a real bottleneck. So having kind of specific towels like that, some people are like, oh, the bigger ones and the ones that are super, like heavy and everything. You probably don't want to get those because they're they're going to take forever to dry. So kind of a good happy medium, and then the technology of the micro cotton that Lorenzo was mentioning can be super helpful. I did want to throw in another thought. So
Yeah.
we stayed in Nashville for a short-term rental conference actually a few months ago, I guess now. And the short-term rental that we stayed in that was in downtown, they had built-in noise machines, like white noise machines, because they were worried that it was actually never allowed for us. But it was really nice to kind of have just that white calming noise when you came into the home. So a nice thing you might not think about.
I've never experienced like the sound. So the sound machine is just already playing when you walk in, like when it's, or like, what do you mean like built in noise machine?
They had speakers placed around the
Like built-in speakers around the house?
around the loft. Yeah. And they told you about it too. So it wasn't like, what's going on? I hear it was like whooshing, it was just white, just that, light static,
Just
but
very
not,
calm,
annoying.
subtle white noise.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we actually sleep with white noise all the time. We have a filter and stuff. So, and when we're not at home, we actually use the white noise app or white noise through like Sonos or something.
So one thing that I see a lot of hosts already have, but it's sometimes as simple as like a little Bluetooth speaker, like so that guests that do use white noise can have it there. you know, in their bedrooms, in the host rooms or in spaces. So that, I know a lot of hosts already have that, but if it's not like fancy built-in speakers, you know, a fairly inexpensive Bluetooth speaker might be kind of nice for guests to have it in their nightstands or in the bedrooms. Sounds like.
For sure.
I had no idea how common white noise machines were. I've never used them. Maybe I'm going to start, but this is kind of helping me kind of discover something that I've never considered. Thank you so much for chiming in, Anthony.
Sure thing.
Debbie, you have your hand raised. You want to chime in real quick?
I have a question for Lorinda.
There we go.
Lorinda, you
Okay.
slippers. So if we offered slippers to our guests, are they washable? Are they?
They're like one-time use.
Oh, they are. Okay, so they're just disposable.
They're
Okay.
disposable, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It'd be kind
You
of
can
fun
tell
as
your
a guest
guests to take
to just
them.
be able to know that you can take them. Yeah, I was going to say just to take them.
Yeah.
I think it helps them taking shoes off too. It encourages it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Nancy, do you mind if we jump to you and kind of get your take on some amenities that you might have noticed for your space or that your guests might have valued? Nancy, do you have, or are you there with us?
Nancy, you're muted. We are too.
Are you talking?
I think we can hear you now. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I wasn't prepared to present anything. I'm just part of the meetup.
Quite
team.
okay. Quite okay. Kim, can we jump to you real quick? I know you have an incoming guest that we kind of joked about earlier that is an unexpected amenity that you might be able to kind of brag about from an incoming guest. What was your unique experience there?
Yeah, earlier today, we had a guest that requested if they could land their helicopter outside of this unit. And I'm like, I don't even know. I never thought in my entire life I would ever be dealing with where are we going to land the helicopter. So I wouldn't suggest everybody run out and put helipads in their backyards though.
I'm thinking of like the little mini drone landing pads that you can get for cheap. Maybe that checks the box.
That would be entertaining. Although I do have a place in Destin and I know there's flight rules about that in certain areas for flying your drone.
Yeah.
Because I had a drone photographer out there and yeah. But I would say a strategy that I use with amenities is you want to go through the Airbnb amenities list and try to check as many boxes as you can, because Airbnb really values when you are like participating in their game, right? So if you're getting a lot of your bookings on Airbnb, then if you can check mark those boxes, especially with those the more economical ones, maybe not a helipad or a hot tub or those big items, but if you can get like the $15 rice cooker or kids games and things, and there's a lot of things that you can find that are really good value, secondhand even. But yeah, just make sure, somebody said earlier, like kitchens, book to cook. And if you can fill out your kitchen, really get all of those amenities and then go with the family amenities. That's gonna really serve you well.
That could be huge. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it was you or someone, another one of our Superhost members that mentioned in a Facebook post of frequently checking Airbnb's list, because those list of checkboxes seems to change over time, and you may not realize that there's new things that you can include on your listing that you have but weren't on the checklist. What is there anything like unique that you've seen pop up on those checklists recently that wasn't there before, or that you've seen change?
Yeah, so I've owned a place in Destin, Florida for 3 years. And when I first bought it, there was not a boat slip option. But as I went through, I would say I felt like I noticed it maybe 6-8 months ago. And I was like, boat slip, I have a boat slip. So I was able to check that, and that was a big deal. But other things are smaller, like they have Instapot now, I think, but they do not have an air fryer yet, but I'm expecting air fryer is going to be on the list at some point. Or maybe I'm wrong on those two. I feel like they have one and not the other right now.
Air fryer.
But that's something to look for.
Are they a pain to clean? I don't
They're
own
a
one.
huge pain to clean. I mean, the newer ones are a little better and they're great. They're super fun, and we have one and like it now has a residency on our countertop, but it's like, and we've shied away from having it in our short-term rental based on the cleaning factor. Honestly, like waffle
Got it.
makers, we have them, but they're also a real pain in the butt to clean. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
I
to
can
tuck
imagine that.
those away in the pantry or a cabinet so that I can offer them. But if they have to like move something out of the way and like get down on the floor to get it out of the cabinet, it's there and they can
It's
use
less
it.
likely.
But yeah, makes it easier on the cleaners.
And the point that you made before, Kim, I think is super important to let people know that, like, as you're going through, and because they're constantly updating and they're not telling you about it, like both platforms are doing it.
Yeah.
Airbnb is a little more, I'd say does it a little more frequently, but they'll add things and they'll add even sections under the items that want details. So like it'll say refrigerator, and then it's like, what type, what brand of refrigerator, and is it stainless steel? And you're like, what? But if you're constantly, like just put it on your calendar, like once a month, go in, kind of do a little bit of a tune-up refresh and check for amenities.
Mhm.
And as you're doing that, maybe you say to yourself every month, you're like, I'm going to invest, $50 a month to add some new amenities so that I can check some new boxes and help, enhance the guest experience. So silly little things that you might not even think about, that I've added and are low cost. One is there's two things that honestly we don't really even need, but it's a box check, but it's $10, I think it was, as a mosquito net. So what do you put in the mosquito net? You literally, like Kim just said, you kind of put it in a closet somewhere. You can take a picture of it if you need to for your guide, but you have it there. It's a box check. It's inexpensive, but it's there if someone needed to use it. And I don't know if anyone would ever need it. Outlet covers, especially if you're a child-friendly home, it's like a $6 item. You can easily check that box, and again, tuck that away in a little spot somewhere that if someone were to have a young child there who wish to have it, you could let them know where it is. Something that I kind of chuckled at when I was buying it, but it was $40, so not 10, but $40 was a little mini fridge. It holds like 2 cans of soda, basically, or medicine or something like that needs to be refrigerated, so that you can keep it in the bedroom instead of, obviously in the kitchen. So if someone wanted, cold water or cold beverage in the bedroom, they'd have that option. And again, I wouldn't suggest you having it out, but you have that available in the closet, and you can, again, that's another box for you to check as an amenity. And the funny thing is, while I bought it kind of fully expecting that no one would really ever use it, when our cleaner went in and was doing kind of the check through, and I saw a part of the video, and I saw that it was out. I was like, oh my God, they actually used it. So those little things could be, serendipitous, benefits for the guests when they're there. And again, if you get on a schedule of, every month or every 2 months to kind of go in and put in a couple bucks in amenity upgrades, it's going to keep you fresh in the platform as far as, the things that they've changed. And you're adding to it each time. So you're being engaged, and the platform certainly will be, is likely to be pleased with that activity.
I'd like to point out with the mini fridge idea too, that was very useful for diabetics who use insulin. And the new weight loss drug also uses the biostimulation.
Oh.
So I'm going to get one.
Okay. So
there you go. Ozempic friendly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Christy, I see your hand raised. Or do you want to finish up before we jump to Christy real quick, Anthony?
No, go. I'll come back in and check.
Yeah, I was just gonna say another thing that I usually include are batteries in my drawer. Just there, the remote control batteries go out, or the front door lock batteries are going out. And on that note, don't do what I did and not have a spare key, and then the batteries on your auto door die, and that's an expensive lesson. So I just put a lock box with a key in it out the front there as a backup.
That's really an amenity that's an amenity for the host sanity.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to throw out there, which I think is always neat, and whenever I do some some consulting for people, and if they have a listing already up and they're like, oh, take a look at it, what do you think of it? The one thing that always stands out to me, and Airbnb will surface items that are kind of considered regular or essential almost. And if you don't have those items, they'll show them, but with a strike through. So something like air conditioning. Now, of course, it's a little more cumbersome to just go out and buy, air conditioning if you wanted to. You could buy a portable one, which could be a way to check off that box, which I have done. But something like carbon monoxide detector. So you're like, well, I don't need one. I don't have any wood burning or gas items in my house. When someone sees that you don't have a carbon monoxide detector, even if they don't know your house, they've never been there, they're going to be coming soon. They might just think you're not really thinking about safety at that point. You don't want them kind of having that thought when they're about to book your place. So even though you might not have that, I would actually fully suggest you go out and get at least one carbon monoxide detector so that you're able to check that box and be extra safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep in mind when you're looking at your listing, there are those items that are crossed out, and those are the ones I would highly suggest trying to remedy.
What about
Yeah,
safe?
that makes a lot of sense.
Little hotel safes. Does anybody have that?
We have them in 2 of our homes, and we did it initially because of the box check. It was an Amazon Basics, $60 electronic safe. And people do use them. They really do. I mean, if you think about it, when you go to like a hotel and that similar experience, right? Like when you go out, you might not know the area, even if honestly, like the places that we have them are like, we leave the doors unlocked when we leave. So it's really not a big deal. But I think people just feel that extra level of security is really nice. And they're not super expensive. Just, I would suggest having them either, if you're not handy, have them professionally installed, just because you want to have them bolted down, because if they're not bolted down, they're a little less than useful.
That's interesting. I did not consider bolting it down. I considered that we wanted to start offering it, but I did not consider just picking up and taking it. So
it comes with a kit. I mean, it's not, you're putting it into wood on the bottom, the back or whatever. Like we have ours in a closet, kind of like a lot of hotels do. So it's like on a shelf in the closet, and you just, basically, secure it into the wall. But yeah, they're good. And we, what we did was because not everyone knows how to use them, surprisingly. And we printed out instructions and kind of have that in the, like, kind of, we close the door on the instructions, like they're not laminated, but like a hard cardboard that we printed it out on, and ask them to leave it open when they leave. And if they don't, we have as part of our check from our cleaner's perspective, they have a backup code, and they can open it up and leave it open for the next guest to use and set their own code.
Yeah, one of the, similar to like the bedroom amenities and the sleep enhancements, and is a simple thing that I know I've loved and my wife loved, is blackout curtains. It's huge for us because we live in a neighborhood where if the power goes out, generators are humming. We have neighbors that have chickens, so they serve 2 purposes. Number 1, the light, and number 2, sound. They help dampen some of the sound that's coming in from the windows. Depending on the age of the house, I'm sure or the area. I know that we've definitely valued it. And when we get to a place and visit that doesn't have it, we really, really notice, because it's a very, very different sleep experience than what we're accustomed to. So that's something that's, if you can have curtains or some way to really, really darken the sleeping environment, that's super duper helpful. I want to make sure that I put that out there, because that's, as a traveler, definitely on my list of things to look for. Because that really can, really, really ruin a trip, to end up like super tired and not able to sleep when you're out vacationing. Any other ideas, folks, that we want to throw in there?
Yeah, I've been traveling a ton lately, and I am surprised at how few people actually have luggage racks in their Airbnbs. And it blows my mind because you might have a chair in the room, which I think is personally really great. But then I end up putting my suitcase on the chair. I can't sit on the chair. The chair becomes a waste. And I don't like to have my suitcase on the floor. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know, but I don't want to like bend down on the floor and dig through my stuff on the floor. So a luggage rack is a really affordable thing that is just, I love it. And it saves space too, because my shoes can go under the suitcase. And so if you have a luggage rack, I want to stay at your place.
Yeah, well, not only that, I was kind of thinking just for cleanliness, like I don't want to put my luggage's suitcase on a host's bed or chair where I know I just drug it through the yard or God forbid something else. Like I want some, like as a guest, I don't want to dirty the linens or the chair. So I appreciate you mentioning that because we're definitely getting that. Lauren, what were you gonna say?
I would suggest also that if you have like a king size room or even a queen that where you have couples stay, that you have 2 luggage racks, because I know my husband and I fight over it all the time. You know, I'll steal and coat hangers is another thing. He'll take the coat hangers and I'll steal the luggage rack. and you just need enough of both.
That's a really good point on the 2 of them. I like that. Actually, that's a good way to jump it up. I will say there are some cool luggage racks that we've implemented that have below them, they have a like a laundry bin. So it's just like a cloth. So, you know, if you're staying in a place for a couple of days, you know, you put your dirty laundry in a place versus just wherever you're going to put it. I mean, like where else do you put it? Like this is it's a nice little home and it's part of the luggage rack. It's just we will once we and I forgot if we mentioned this at all, but like we're gonna put together. We have all these items that we've been talking about kind of on a big list, and we're happy to share that on our website to everyone afterward. But that's something I actually will add. I did not add previously, but thanks for bringing that up, Lorinda. And the fact to have 2 of them is really good. But yeah, hangers are like a huge pet peeve. My wife's like, what the heck? They have like 3 hangers. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Another
call. Sarah. Oh, sorry. Kim, can I come right back to you in just a moment?
Yeah.
Sarah, I just saw your hand raised. I wanted to make sure we get to you.
Hey y'all. So I just wanted to chime in because I think my approach is a little bit more minimalist. So I don't go in for the appliances. I don't go in for a lot of things that I have to check. Like, did they use the waffle maker? Did they use the air fryer? Do I need to clean this? So I keep my properties pretty lean. But I get a lot of feedback for some of the little things that we provide. So we provide disposable earplugs. Both in the bathroom and then also in the nightstands. They don't get used very often, but I just feel like it's one of those things that if there were to be any neighbor noise or ambient noise that was bothering someone, you know, we've sort of taken
snoring
care
partner.
Yeah, snoring partner. I removed the dressers from the bedrooms because we had such a problem with leave behinds. I was mailing people underwear and swimsuits and just all kinds of things. So we just took them out and put luggage racks in their place. And that just completely eliminated that problem. We have shoehorns next to the door because we do encourage people to remove their shoes when they come in. I kind of don't care, but it does really help keep the house clean, right? So so the shoehorns are there
that to make signals to guests that shoes come off.
Yeah, it just makes it easy for people to get their shoes on and off. And of course, there's a little bench there to sit on and, you know, kind of make that comfortable. What's the other thing that and definitely the fully stocked kitchen. You know, one of my properties is in Southeast Portland. The other one is I'm out at my new property in the Gorge. And in Southeast Portland, people do cook mostly in the winter, but man, all summer long, they're just hitting the takeout hard. So for us, it's more of really having to manage the garbage and recycling and helping people understand what can go in the green bin to help reduce the garbage. But yeah, I think it's interesting that just how much they seem to value that. Like I get so many comments on that shoehorn.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, I
That's a
just wanted
small
to,
thing that's kind of cool to include. I'm glad you said all that because these are very unique experiences that you've had about like taking a different approach to amenities included and what you've heard from your guests that they value. That's
and
huge. Thank you so
frankly,
much for sharing all that.
part of it is just selfish. I mean, I don't like to have
Yeah,
to, you know, I
absolutely.
would be, and this is no cut on anyone, but I would be horrified if somehow like a waffle iron got put away dirty and the next guest found it because I didn't check it. And so I just saved myself from that by just, you know, it's eliminated.
Yeah, that's crafting your hosting experience too, not only
Right.
for the guest, but for yourself as well. There's some sanity and self-preservation you have to take into consideration, I'm sure, as well.
Exactly. Make it easy.
Absolutely. Should we jump to Anthony? I don't know, Kim, if it was a quick comment you wanted to share real quick.
No, let's go with Anthony. I'm curious.
So yeah, Sarah brought up a great idea when she said, you know, oh, I have a lot of people that, you know, eat out a lot and they don't cook. So the flip side of that is someone, a family that's staying and likes to cook a big meal. So maybe you have a home that sleeps a lot of people. So when they make a lot of meals, what happens normally? You have some leftovers. So what do you do with them? So what we've done is we've bought, you know, like standardized leftover containers. They're actually glass with lids that, you know, that seal and can be microwaved and refrigerated and frozen and stuff. Yeah. We purposely got the glass ones so that they didn't just get tossed or taken home because they're kind of heavy. We actually got them at IKEA. They're really nice. They're standardized. They're all kind of like I'd say like a third of a brownie pan size in glass, and those are solid. And again, we did that because we know when we're out there and we're entertaining a lot of people and we're cooking a lot, there's inevitably going to be leftovers, and we don't want to throw the stuff away, and it makes for good lunches and stuff like that. So instead of Ziplocs, we thought the glass containers could be super helpful.
I'm with you on that, Anthony. I have both the glass so that they stay in the unit, but then I do not like the Tupperware. I do not like the plastic resealable containers because somebody puts it in the microwave and it burns that stuff onto it and it looks terrible, and it's clean, so the housekeepers put it away, but it does not present well. So what I also do on the other end is I get like meal prep containers because you can get them in quantities, and I leave a quantity in there. And if they take it, if they trash it, I'm not upset. They're really inexpensive, but then they also have the glass option as well. So it kind of gives, for me, I think the best of both worlds. And to play on that and the minimalist approach that Sarah was saying, if you don't want to go all out and like check every box, I think it's really, really important to have plenty of toilet paper, plenty of extra trash bags, plenty of items like soap and things like cleaning supplies. And really, if you're going to do a few things, you do them really, really well. And people appreciate that too. So I know every time I get a call, and it doesn't happen very often, but when somebody says, do you have more trash bags somewhere? I'm like, oh man, that's two problems, right? It's a problem that the guest doesn't have enough stuff and they might have been going crazy on the takeout. And so there's a lot of waste containers, but then the other, so they're not having their needs met, but also we've got a trash issue that I now have to deal with. So, yeah. I like to get those big rolls of white trash bags. I get them on Amazon. And as it gets halfway out, that stays for the guest. Like, use as many as you need and clean up your own trash, please. So
yeah, absolutely. Heather, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, see if you can find your mute button real quick.
Thank you. Just a couple of thoughts that two different things. I'm on Maui. We have limited landfill space. Someday it's going to fill up, and then we don't know what we're going to do. So I'm very, very conscious of not using any disposable plastics or anything disposable if I can help. So one of the things that we've added, so I love the glass leftover containers. Yes. We do that too. Love that. also I'll get one family in 3 or 4 different units, and they're sharing things, and that gets interesting. But then we have to kind of make sure, but those glass containers are super important and really helpful that way. We also keep in our units, I'm sorry, I had to step away, so if somebody already said this stuff, I apologize, but we also keep
Quite okay.
a water pitcher, a filtered water pitcher. And we let our
Yes.
guests know before they arrive that we discourage them from buying single-use water bottles. They
Yeah.
will anyway, about half of them, but we religiously change those filters on there, and we put a label on there that says this is the date that it was changed. So that's become really important. And a lot of people, I was surprised at how many people love that. The other thing that we've been getting asked for that's off of this subject, just in the last year, I would say probably 30% of my guests, which has blown me away, are asking me for yoga mats. Okay, so we are
That's funny
providing
you
them
say
with
that.
yoga
Yeah.
mats. And I think it kind of goes along with, we've always done, beach mats, grass beach mats, which
Mhm.
I've decided, okay, we can add yoga mats really easily, and we'll roll them up and stick them in the corner, and our guests are thrilled.
That's a keen observation. That's awesome to hear that. I appreciate you sharing that. The water filters, especially because we're up in the mountains, similar with, we're trying to be good stewards of the environment that we're in, especially in a mountain community. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because that can be a huge way to promote and kind of share and encourage guests to utilize that filtered water that's there, instead of using the alternative at the store. So thank you so much for sharing that, Heather. Can I quickly go to Debbie, and then we'll jump over to Christy.
Okay, I actually have a couple things I wanted to say in
Okay.
relationship to what Sarah said about the luggage racks. We got rid of
Okay.
our dressers too, and put in luggage racks, but we did it for ease, yes, but also because of bed bugs. And that's just another reason that the bed bugs evidently are not so attracted to the metal.
Oh, okay.
They are to wood. So and having two is great. Also, having a filter, I think, for a king bed would be wonderful. I'm waiting for Airbnb and VRBO to have that option so that we can identify that more readily. And I'm a little embarrassed about this now, Heather, because I really appreciate what you said. But my question was going to be about Ziploc bags. If anybody supplies those in their kitchens to guests. We're very erratic about it, but we try to do it. And now I'm thinking landfill. I mean, that would be classic no-no.
Sure. Yeah.
I was thinking I needed to supply Ziploc bags, and I notice in my my own home that I rent out when I travel, I have an abundance of Ziploc bags, none of which I have purchased myself. So I think people don't expect to have them, and they are bringing them or buying them as part of their groceries. I don't know. They just keep appearing, and mostly the snack size. I don't know why.
You have a self-sustaining supply, it sounds like.
Yes. But I do supply like tin foil and things like that. And I think that helps with the grill and the oven at times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and covering food.
I like to for our guests to think that all they need to do is bring their food and their clothes, and they're totally at home.
Yeah.
So there's flour and sugar, coffee, and all the spices, cocoa, all that stuff there for them. I know some states don't allow that because of bugs, but Oregon is good for that. Florida probably not so much. I don't know.
We had a chef stay one time over Thanksgiving, and in his review, he said, "I had everything I needed in this house."
What great feedback to hear from a chef, especially.
Yeah, so book to cook. I mean, I've got a new little slang thing to put in.
Yeah, we unexpectedly heard that and came up with that today.
And on that book to cook, you have to have sharp knives. There's nothing more annoying when there's not sharp knives.
Yes.
And
Thank
Costco
you.
makes self sharpener blocks so that you can get the full gizmo, all of the different knives, and they self sharpen.
Mhm.
It's
Was that your note, Christy? Did we like accidentally segue right into what you were going to mention?
No, I've got a few things here. Another one is a cooler, you know, when they're off gallivanting and they're packing their
Yep.
lunch, is great to supply. And on the note of bottled water, Carlos, up where we are, you're just going to have it, unfortunately, because when you lose the power for the extended period, you know, it
We will,
infiltrates
yeah.
the water and then they shut it off. And so then you got to
But that's
have.
the emergency kit.
I also appreciate a variety of pillows when I travel. That's
Okay.
for me. I'm kind of picky in my pillow department. And then I also just stash some women's like monthly supplies in the drawer too for emergency
Sure.
situations. That's my list.
Love it. That's awesome to hear. And yeah, you make a good point. But up here, I'm trying, or like I said, we're trying to be stewards of the environment. But yes, to your point, I can definitely relate to needing that when the power goes out. Right before we jump over to Anthony, Sarah, do you have a quick thought before, and then we'll open this up for Q&A here just in a moment. But Sarah, what are your thoughts here real quick?
Oh, I was just going to say that God, before I lose my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, I always think about, this happens to me when I travel, like if I'm coming in late and the next morning, it's sort of that, like, what are sort of my immediate needs? So I'm sure we all provide coffee, or at least enough coffee for that first day. And one of my friend of mine who kind of helped get me started, because she was a host. I have single serve creamer and individually wrapped butter, and some breakfast bars. So it's sort of like that, that first morning when you wake up, you've got to have your coffee, and maybe you didn't stop and get some provisions on your way in, just so you can have your coffee and something to eat, as you're headed out to get some, some supplies before you, chew your arm off. So that's kind of my.
Or before you have to make that concerted effort to go and get supplies from like the nearest store or something. Like,
you gotta wake up and
let me just settle in that first night and first morning, and then I'll go and procure the rest of the supplies.
Yeah,
that's a great thought.
The cooler and the ice packs. I mean, we get a lot of summer visitors. So it's just there's a small cooler bag that they can borrow, and there's a larger cooler that they can use if they're going off.
Cooler bag. Okay.
That's all.
I had not considered that. A cooler bag. Okay. I know we definitely use that person, but that'd be really cool to include for guests. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sarah. I want to transition over to Anthony real quick. Anthony had some closing thoughts, and then some information to share with us. What's on your mind?
Yeah. So I forgot who mentioned it before, but with batteries, one thing I wanted to mention is we do the same, like a AA and some AAA. We put a note, we kind of wrap it with a rubber band and a note. And we say, if you've used these, just please let us know, so that we can replenish them. And that's helpful because, another thing for your cleaner to check or miss potentially, not so great. But if the guest is like, oh yeah, your batteries ran out on the remote and I changed them, then you can say, hey, don't forget to put these backups back into your cleaner. So that's one key item there with the batteries that we found successful. And then around water. So we do have in each of our homes, we'll put like a Brita filter system in the fridge, and we'll have that filled for when they arrive. So they'll have chilled water. But what we will do is we will message them in advance on things not to bring. And specifically, we call out water and water bottles, because we're like, don't bother doing that, because we have this ready for you. It's sort of because, and we send this out as an automated message 5 days before arrival. But basically, as they're kind of, they're going through like, okay, what are the things we need to bring? And then, like when we go to the supermarket, like right before we get there, we're like, don't bother wasting, any money on plastic filled water bottles. We have this for you. And we also tell them like our water is treated, or if it's coming from the main water system. You know, we tell them that too, so that they know, because a lot of times they're like, again, coming to an area they're not familiar with, can we drink the water is one of the questions. So that's why we kind of give like three bulleted items of like, you know, here, make sure, you know, don't bother packing this or thinking about getting this in advance, just so they know.
I also have the stainless steel bottles for the water too, so they can take it on the go if they don't bring their own.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I think I could see those walking away pretty easily, but
Yeah, we seem to have an endless supply with 4 kids. They're just coming in and
That might be a good one to get your name on. Get it as a promotional item. I've seen that at places.
There you go.
I know
Solid
we're
idea.
kind of running out of time here, and if it's okay, I wanted to take a quick minute just to let everyone know. You know, one, a big thank you. We're not ending yet. We're gonna have some you know, further Q&A. This has been a really good conversational panel, so this is cool. But as a reminder, Host to Host, the organization you are here today, who's hosting this for you, is a member-supported organization, and the only way we're funded is by members who are paying annual dues. And I always forget the number. It's a very small amount. Someone can keep me honest and tell me what that small amount is, you know, for an individual or for a family. If you know you're doing it in tandem, it means a lot to us, and it really keeps us going. So if you're not a member now, we want to encourage you to become a member, and you'll get all the extra perks associated with that. And if you are a member already, thank you very much. Your annual contributions are what allow us to run in the lean way that we do, with all of our volunteers, of course, as well. But thank you again for your annual membership and continuing annual membership. So please join us if you're not already a member. And Carlos, I'll let you take it away to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anthony. So Charity just posted, and I actually looked it up because I was kind of curious where we are too. It's only $60 for an individual, $80 for a household. Numbers that are now going to be emblazoned in my mind forevermore because I actually had to go look it up. So thank you so much, Charity, for sharing that. I'm hugely proud of the conversations that our organization gets to have and keep in touch with each other. More than just supporting the organization. I think most of us are already members, but if you know other hosts, please encourage them to explore joining us, because that would kind of expand our reach as an organization. And we'd love to have existing members that already know us continue to support us by potentially volunteering or joining a committee and exploring helping host to host grow, not only in membership, but in how we have events and what we can host. We get a lot of ideas from each other. So if you can potentially consider volunteering with a committee of some sort, we'd love to have you, or at least explore that conversation with you. So thank you, Anthony, for kind of sharing a little bit about that as well. We want to kind of finish this off with a Q&A. This has been a lot of roundabout, and I really love how much ideas that we've kind of shared around the screens and seeing how many voices have popped up. So I see Debbie's hand that just popped up. So I guess I'll go to Debbie real quick, if that's okay.
It's Rob's hand.
Yeah, actually it was my hand.
Rob's hand. Okay.
Just another suggestion is at least a very basic first aid kit, so that there's some band-aids and things.
Absolutely.
For times that people have needed that. And then also a transistor radio, the old-timey transistor radio, and a 9-volt battery in case there's some sort of a big C and you don't have power. You can
yeah,
the waves.
Christy, do you have that up here? A transistor radio? That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
I do not.
Now I'm gonna go get one.
You know, I do have little those little cheapy handheld ones.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just stash a couple of them.
Okay, then you do. Yeah. You do have them then.
I don't think they've ever been used, though.
Well, hopefully they won't.
It's good.
What are you thinking, Anthony?
I was going to say, Rob made a good point, and it's not, I don't think of it as an amenity per se, but it actually really is. It's a safety / amenity benefit. So we have flashlights that you plug into your outlets, and they aim down. So when the lights go off, they act as night lights, which is really helpful because you're in an unfamiliar home. And when the power goes out, they turn into flashlights. they've been sitting in there charging, so there are flashlights, and we put them, several of them throughout the house, so that if there were to be a power outage, people would be covered with lighting options. Since, you know, think about it, when you're in a hotel, if power actually goes out, they have emergency lighting. This is kind of our de facto vacation rental emergency lighting system, and they're inexpensive, they're nice, and we have them in each of our homes. We'll add that on the list too.
That was what I was going to ask. Right.
Yeah, we'll put them on the list. It's one of those things that, you know, even just you can use them as a regular flashlight, even if the power didn't go out, because they're just plugged in the wall there.
Love it. Love that. I have a selfish question that is something my wife and I cannot agree on. Bidets, in or out?
Out. I'm an out personally. I have one.
Out. Okay.
Yeah, it sits on it. It's not like built into it. I think if you're gonna have one, you just should go all in and get like a proper one, not an attachment per se.
Not
but
just an attachment. Okay.
Cleaning it just like a little bit harder, which I don't like.
That was my wife's point. Okay.
If you're trained to clean it well enough, you know, like properly, like I would say that's probably okay. We actually recently installed one as a test, because that is something that you can check, another amenity to check in Airbnb. And there's a company, and we'll include this link in there. It's called Better Butts, that is offering, they're targeting hosts like us. So they are essentially giving it to you for free. So you pay for it, and then you install it, you take a picture of it and show it to them as a picture in your listing, and then they'll refund you 100%. So the only cost you have is the installation if you have someone do that for you. And we added it. We haven't had any issues from cleaning perspective, and it is an amenity that we can check.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Sarah? Because I love your ideas.
Oh, no, I had some questions.
Okay. Please ask.
I'm all for, you know, first aid kits, you know, like, you know, feminine hygiene products. I think, you know, let's be prepared for people's emergencies. I'm curious about how everyone else handles like ibuprofen, aspirin, allergy medicine. So I leave ibuprofen in my home because I also stay there in between guests when I'm coming through Portland, and I like to have it for me. And so I just leave it in there. And every once in a while, someone will leave behind, like, you know, a bottle of Allegra, which I leave in there because I don't have allergies, but other people do. What are your all thoughts on over-the-counter drugs?
I'm out. Yeah, I grew up with my dad as a healthcare practitioner. He really doesn't like to see anything more than like a basic Advil or Tylenol, and even still, I'm out.
Yeah.
Is that an issue of expiration or tampering or
tampering and liability?
I would be concerned with children.
Yeah, I travel with my 4 kids all the time, and I will buy my own.
Got it.
We offered it briefly in little prepackaged, sort of prepackaged samples so that it could look like it was tamper-proof, but ultimately we kind of raised more questions than it helped. And with as many markets as are available, it just didn't really make sense to continue to offer it. So we removed those from our listings. It was just, people would have questions like, and I don't know, and then expiration dates you're also worried about, and just it's a liability more than it was a benefit, I feel like, in the end. So
I'd be thinking about adding a IV amenity.
Oh, like for a half a second I took you seriously.
My husband's a paramedic, and I should offer his IV services for hangovers.
Well, they make
That's a paid add-on. That's not an amenity.
That's an Airbnb experience.
There you go. Pamela, we'd love to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to comment about the over-the-counter medications.
Okay.
And I would not offer it. As a healthcare practitioner myself, I think there's too much danger there about giving someone a medication, you don't know what their allergy status is or what other medicines they're on. And I would just be very careful. Yeah. I think we're living in a time where these things are accessible to at the latest store if they need it, you know.
Yeah.
So I would just, as you said, Carlos, I'm out. But
Appreciate you chiming in, Pamela.
United States thing, yeah.
I don't think I see your name, but I think Insights Group is the name on your Zoom name.
It is.
Feel
My
free to
name's
introduce
Maria.
yourself real quick.
Hi.
Maria,
Hi,
good to see you, Maria.
Yes. And I was also thinking, along with the first aid kit, it would be nice to put a little sewing kit in there, because sometimes a button come off or something, and people will just like to use it. Also, I'm from Barbados. So therefore,
beautiful.
Thank you. So therefore, I also offer a fire extinguisher, which nobody has ever used. And I also offer a fire blanket, and people comment on, there's never have to use it, thank goodness. But they comment on the idea that it is there, because in my opinion, the fire blanket is a lot easier to use than with the fire extinguisher. Because even if you're used to using a fire extinguisher and there's the fire, there's the possibility that the nervousness could cause some kind of delay or something like that. Maybe delay is not a good word, but you understand. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
The fire blanket
Also-
may be a little bit more intuitive in an emergency situation. Is that kind of what you're alluding to?
Yes, right.
And a fire
Beautiful.
ladder.
I really like you mentioned that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Fire ladder for the second floor is good too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope I don't have to use that. So it sounds like a lot of what we're echoing is sentiments about like making sure that we can kind of mimic or at least provide guests with something that's at least akin to a hotel stay, you know, with some of these basic amenities. Because I do recognize a lot of these ideas from hotels, but that's been kind of I don't know, some of the nuanced things that you guys have all brought up have been really fun to kind of that make an experience a little bit different than just a hotel stay. I really love the idea of kind of personalizing, like I think Sarah mentioned that she kind of crafting her hosting experience to fit what she wants to accommodate and what she's wanting to provide for guests. And Kim, you had a lot of excellent ideas as well. Do we have any other Q&A that we want to ask before we close this out? We're coming up on a little bit over an hour, but I appreciate everyone's conversation and kind of sharing their ideas here. Before we close it out, where should we, and any final thoughts? Excellent. Charity, do you want to help take us out? We have a poll that's going to be popping up. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Carlos, and thanks to all of our panelists for your contributions, and then just all of the participants. I learned so much. You got me really thinking about the fire blanket instead of a fire. I always put fire extinguishers in our properties, but really that makes a lot more sense. So I just wanted to appreciate some of the eye-opening and even the conversation about removing dressers from a unit. I hadn't really, the question came up a lot with my former clients. They would ask, should I go with dressers? Should I go? And I always had them do both dressers and luggage racks. But like, it makes a lot of sense because as a host myself in my home, I experienced so many people who would leave behind their belongings in the dresser. So that just and it was a pain, right? It's a pain to deal with. So that totally makes sense. I love the concept of designing your own hosting experience, and just the whole conversation has been really helpful for me. So I appreciate everybody's contributions. There is a poll up here, and this poll is just helping us to get a better sense of how we can serve you in the future, right? Do you like in-person events? Are you hoping to have more of them? How could we serve you in the education committee as the education committee starts to plan for the remainder of the year? So it looks like Kim, you might have something to weigh in on. Kim's a board member too, by the way, of Host to Host. So thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I had a crying 3-year-old in the room for a while, so I couldn't say anything. But one thing we did not talk about is pet amenities. And a lot of us, I think, are pet friendly, and people travel with their pets, or we're concerned about traveling, having pets in the home. one amenity that somebody brought into my home and then left behind was pet wipes. So like we have makeup wipes and you have like diaper wipes and all the kinds of wipes. I did not know that pet wipes were a thing, but I do provide rags and old towels for pets along with water bowls and food bowls. And so if we offer things that help people clean up after their pet, even stain remover and things like that, it makes it easier for people to bring their pets. So that is also a thought.
Things I did not know about. I'm learning so much today. That's one of the, so if when you're saying, are they like literally like the like wet wipes we might, like I associate that like it's a kid's item or like a diaper bag item. Is it similar but just labeled for pets or safer for pets?
That's exactly what I saw. And they left it in my little pet amenity kit. I have little like treats and things and dog bags. I have lots and lots of dog bags. But yeah, they left this little pack of wipes and they opened just like diaper wipes. And it's just in a little container. And it looks like they bought it at TJ Maxx. Price tag was on it. It's only $7.
What an interesting but unique thing to kind of offer to pets, because that would kind of probably encourage them, like if they see it, they'll probably be more likely to actually use it and not have muddy paws all over the house.
Right.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would like, as much as I kind of shy away from trying to be pet friendly, that little things like that could help like encourage us and be a little bit less reluctant to welcome pets if we knew we could be better prepared to offer those amenities to them and not have chaos all over the floors. Let me see if that's all. Thank you so much, Charity. I just saw the poll results pop up. That's awesome. Thank you so much for everyone that participated in the poll. Thank you, Kim, for those final thoughts. Anthony, do you want to take us on home and wrap us up? And then Charity can kind of close us out.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks everyone again for joining. We hope you had fun with us tonight. We certainly enjoyed sharing some of our tips and tricks for hosting, and I love that it was very organic in many senses here, in a true conversation where it just continued to develop as I was, oh wait, I forgot about this, and so
yes,
everyone got to learn a little bit and remember things that you might not have thought about. Don't forget to mark your calendar for those regular checks that to just keep yourself, a fresh listing is a happy listing, I would say. So yeah, I think other than that, we hope to see you again at a coffee, which we do every Wednesday at what's the official time? 4 o'clock
11 a.m.
Pacific, or 11.
Yeah.
Sorry, like what time is it? Yes, 11 a.m.
Depending on what coast you're on.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Those are always great. We always have good participation there. And then we have obviously other events coming up throughout the summer. There'll be one coming up, I think, in July that we're in the midst of planning to just continue to have a better hosting experience and enjoy yourselves. So thank you all for being here today. And we hope to see you at another host-to-host event in the very near future.
Amazing. Thank you all very much, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Carlos,
guys.
for being our moderator and MC
Yes,
tonight.
Carlos.
Yes, thank you, Carlos.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.